Hi, Anant.
Hey, hi Ravi. Namaskara. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How about you?
Good, good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I think for a little while we all can switch on the cameras till I start the presentation because that starts taking the bandwidth. And the only way to see each other is through video cameras now.
So your classmate Ravi Kumar has to do this first.
Yeah. No, sir, not my classmate. He's my guru. Okay? He's my mentor.
Yes, yes.
Ravi is my mentor.
ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಡಪ್ಪ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸುಮ್ಮನಿರು. That's the truth. And Ravi, I have one more schoolmate with me. Mr. Bojraj is also, we share the same school. He's 1 year senior to me.
Actually, last year ನೀನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅನಂತು.
Yeah.
Last year ನೀನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗಲೂ Mr. Bojraj sir also there.
Okay.
ನಾನಿದ್ದೆ.
Okay.
ನಾನಿದ್ದೆ.
14th May last year, 14th May 2020 ಮಾಡಿದ session.
So you remember the date also.
ಹೌದು, ರವಿ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಇನಿಶಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಪ್ಲಾನ್.
Yes. Yeah. It's good, you know, to be a part of the industry always. So okay.
I request
Yeah.
switch off cameras, please.
Yeah. Can we start? Yeah.
Except the speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Damodran, please keep your camera off. Very good evening to all of you. On behalf of Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka chapter, a very warm welcome to all the participants. For the benefit of our new members and non-members, I would like to briefly introduce Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka. LUBK is a state chapter of LUB India, catering to 24 districts of Karnataka and works towards the empowerment of entrepreneurs in micro and small sectors. It ensures continuous support for the development of businesses by creating and disseminating cross-industry best practices and critical knowledge, and help members understand and keep abreast of changing economic conditions, the regulatory and taxation environment, and rapid technological changes. Operating through several expert committees, represent all industries and service sector, LUBK regularly organizes industrial visits for its membership base so that best practices can be replicated back in their own units. LUBK provides a very strong interface between the union and state governments in the formulation of industrial policy, sector-specific schemes and policies with industry expertise, cutting-edge research and incisive analysis. It regularly submits representation to both on immediate and long-standing issues to state and central governments. Coming back to today's webinar, we have with us Shri Ananta Prasad, who will speak to us on the topic safety and prevention of accidents at MSME units. Let me briefly introduce Mr. Anant Prasad. He's a seasoned technocrat. He's a mechanical engineer and a qualified safety professional. He specializes in environment, health and safety domain of engineering. Mr. Anant possesses more than 3 decades of corporate and field experience working with global conglomerate like Robert Bosch and General Electric Corporation. In his vast industrial experience, Anant has played a vital role in the operationalization of Bosch manufacturing plant at Nagnathpura, Bangalore and Jaipur in Rajasthan. His major milestones as a maintenance expert comprises of establishing and operating a robust system of maintenance, cost budgets, and maintenance management systems. Anant played a very vital role for technology transfer from Fuback plant at Stuttgart, Germany to India for manufacturing capacity ramp-up of distributor head fuel injection pumps to catering to automotive industry. Anant is also well connected with institution and the academia. At the national level, he is associated with the Confederation of Indian Industry as an expert in the Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development Division. He's a guest faculty for several engineering institutions on aspects of EHS and engineering technology. In 2016, he was appointed as an external examiner by VTU Registrar Examinations for conducting the final Viva Voice examination for PG engineering students. Working with academia, he constantly strives to bridge the institution-industry connect, enabling students having a strong start to their professional careers. Anant has a bouquet of recognitions to his credit spread across his career. He's also been awarded the Gen Suite GE Global Champion Award for excellence in leadership and implementation of safety risk assessment systems. Anant, with like-minded professionals, co-founded Sudaksha Management Solution LLP, a multifaceted engineering consultancy firm in 2016. He partners with CGE Risk Management Solutions BV, the Netherlands, and has brought to India Bowtie XP, a comprehensive software that enables an integrated implementation of barrier-based risk management in organizations. As a CEO of Sudaksha, he leads the only team of experts in the country to be certified as trainers in software and methodology. His major projects comprise advisory services and training programs in design, EHS management solutions, EHS compliance, safety audits as Indian standards and other international standards, peer EHS and engineering reviews, accident investigations, and risk management programs and the like. I now officially hand over the session to Sri Ananta Prasad. Please, sir.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Shekhar. I'm honored to be introduced again in this forum. We have all met earlier, but every meeting is a new beginning because we get new perspective, and every interaction is a new learning opportunity for all of us, and that includes me. So before I start, I would just like to introduce my colleague, Mukti. Mukti is based out of Delhi, and she happens to be an ex-Air Force officer leading women in India to become air traffic controllers, while she was the first air traffic controller, lady air traffic controller of the country. So me and Mukti will be jointly handling this session, and let's start. So I'm just going to share the screen and ask for one affirmation if my screen is being seen. So guys, is my screen seen?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So this is about us in Sudaksha. Shekhar has done the honors, and we'll go ahead. So what we will do is we will have the session for the next 45-50 minutes. I'm going to show the reality of safety of what we have seen and what the situation is. And today it's much more complex than ever because of the hovering pandemic, the first wave, second wave, and we are the fear of the third wave too. And it's branching out into multiple things like the black fungus, the white fungus, and all. So let's look at what safety is and how it is affecting. It becomes more important for us because we are just not physically drained. We are also emotionally scared about what's going to be happening next because we don't know the certainty of our future. Certainly, we don't know what we're going to live with tomorrow. Okay, so some common baselines. You know, working in industry, there are some occupational stress aspects because any activity with itself brings some pluses and minuses. So the International Labour Organization did a research and found out world across countries, across cultures, there's certain common factors that affects the industrial workforce, right from the frontline operator to the CEO, considering the whole diaspora of the community. So it says out of every 4 people, like, you know, 1 person misses work due to stress. It's more due to the mental strain that we go through. And then we can relate to it so many times. We have now, we leave home, wouldn't want to get to office, and we come back. Okay, before I continue, is it okay if I talk in English? Madhya Kannada nu use madla or Kannada beka prominent again? Which language do you prefer?
No problem, sir. Kannada is
all right, great. I'll use both languages. So these are statistics again, and see, that means say 25% of people, and we can relate. ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದಿನ ನಮಗೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಗೈಸ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ಗಾಡಿ ತಿರುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡಬಾರ್ದು, ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು, ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ರು ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ CL in my quota and CL expires on 31st December. It's October, I still have 8 days leave. ಒಂದಿನ ಹಂಗೆ we'll take off bunk ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. And that's how the stress manifests is what ILO says. And workplace environments have greater effect on stress levels because we spend the maximum time of our life once we step into a professional world there. Technically, we spend 50% of the time there because 24 hours only, 12 hours is 50%. And ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಹೊರಟು ಆಫೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಮನೆಗೆ ಬರೋ ತನಕ 12 hours. And typically ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಹೊರಡು ಟೈಮ್ ಗೊತ್ತು, we don't know what time.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. They're asking in English, sir.
On English, all right, okay. So we exactly don't know what time we get back home. All we know is I got to leave my house at 7:30 or 8 in the morning, considering the driving distance, considering the traffic, and the stress starts from there at that point of time. So, and this adds with working environment because you have meetings, you have production targets, you have schedules, you have shortage of components. Added to all that, you have this pandemic that you're battling every moment of it. So it's a challenge. And most of the people who go to OHC or your medical center or seek medical advice in the factory are due to stress related. It can be lifestyle, it can be blood pressure, it can be it can be sugar, it can be acidity. Most of the cases are stress related, you know, no sleeplessness leading to insomnia, that leading again into indigestion, that again manifesting in some kind of giddiness. So 70% of medical cases are there like that. And chronic stresses, you know, how many people we've heard are affected due to heart attack, how many people have lost life in the course of their careers. So this constant stress related to the working environment, the operational cycle, the work culture affects a person severely to the extent that it can even be fatal. And stress causes so many diseases: heart, lungs, cancer, accidents, cirrhosis. It's all because they're interrelated. You know, you're so stressful, you'll say, let me take a smoking break, go get back and come, and you're actually burning out your lungs. You're so stressed and tired in the evening, working on the shop floor, you're physically tired, you get back, say, let me have a beer, let me have a small shot. You start drinking, that causes liver cirrhosis. And if nothing works, you know, and people who are unable to take the stress, they have even committed suicides. And this is becoming so rampant in the Western world, and more in the quick pace of industry like the e-commerce industry, like, you know, the BPO processes, because you practically don't have time to breathe. So this is causing a lot of stress, and you know, it is affecting people world over. And statistics say that in a factory with 20 employees, 4 are exposed to mental illness. It can be any form. And in India, we don't recognize mental illness because people will think, okay, the moment I say I'm emotionally stressed or I have an emotional fatigue, they start thinking that you're crazy, you're mentally imbalanced, you're mad. But the aspect of psychological counseling is very common in the Western world, and it is taken as a workplace illness, and which is very healthy practice, basically because the person's well-being, occupational and personal, both depends upon the physical wellness and the mental wellness. Okay, and more accidents happen due to mental illness because we are not present at that moment. We are supposed to be present when you're working on the mission. Your thought is somewhere else. It's on your home, it's on your budgets, it's on the salaries coming, it's going to be on the salary cuts. So some stress, or it's going to be on the production schedules because you have pressure to give X number of components, machine under breakdown, and you don't have, like, you know, the time to give the output, and some customer is standing at the end of the line. So you're always exposed to some kind of mental illness and mental stress due to these factors, and they are the second leading cause of absenteeism. How many times, like earlier said, that you don't have a feel-good factor when you're waking up in the morning and you have the luxury of taking a day off. You just want to skip work. And how many times you call your bosses if you're in good terms with him, saying that, you know, today I'm going to fall sick, or you're going to tell him that today I'm tired, sir, tomorrow I'm going to fall sick, I will not be in office, I want to take off, and then you just skip work. So that's a condition of mind, because when the body is tired, it can be regenerated. Good food, nutritious food, and a healthy sleep is going to revive your body. But when the mind is stressed, it's not going to be that easy, and it's going to accumulate, and finally culminate in some form of disease, or some form, it manifests in some form of let go. So and people who have these untreated conditions, they use more medical services. The need to go to an occupational health center is more of perception rather than actual. Somewhere I feel I have muscle strain. Somewhere I feel I'm giddy. Something wrong with me. I'm not able to concentrate. So these factors which get built into your persona is what makes you go to the medical services. Actually, the doctor says, okay, everything is fine. I won't want to give you medicine. But your feel is never giving a comfortable state of mind for you, because you're all the workforce is always perturbed, and it's by experience. Even I have lived this. How many times I've gone to office, I said I will not get into the lab to review something. I will today not get into the shop floor in the morning because I am fatigued, and I just sit down in the desk, do some documentation work. And they say, once all this is faced and then it is treated, okay, there is a significant improvement in performance, and it helps you grow in the organization. So there are so many dimensions to this workplace stress that manifests in physical and emotional well-being that requires attention. When recognized and attended, your performance increases. But we tend to take things for granted, and because of such a scenario, things go out of control. And when things go out of control, what happens? We make accidents. And when we make accidents, either an injury or not injury, the whole system of safe operations is disturbed. So let's look at those things which cause disturbance in safety in industry. And now it takes much more focus because of the global pandemic and the multiple waves we are getting in. Okay. Now the challenges now we have restlessness. Now the lockdowns are being announced, how can I say, without notice to people, saying that from tomorrow there's a lockdown. So how do you plan to run your factory? How do you plan to get your workplace? Then what happens if your salaries are not paid? That's one aspect of it. Now, second aspect of it is when such lockdowns are revoked and work starts, now you just want to be Superman and start things, at a click of a key, and just start from where they are. We don't have time to look back, review if everything is fine and start. It's something like, you straight away want to drive your car in the fourth gear at 180 kilometers per hour without even going on the first gear. So that's the kind of restlessness we all have. And there's a constant fear. There's a constant fear, internal and external, as to who is going to come affected, who is affected, who is recovered, and who is going to spread this. Now, what happens if I get affected? How is my family going to manage itself? Do we have enough infrastructure for hospitalization? Do we have enough insurance coverage? This is constantly there. And in fact, even today, I also face this whole irony, the whole situation of fear of COVID, because there are so many cases in the community I live in. So we always live in the constant fear, which makes us, apparently be absent from the present situation. And without our knowledge, we become hazards and pose threats to the well-being of everyone around us. The site conditions, you don't know in what condition the sites were, the factories, the industries, the organizations were locked, were shut shop when the lockdown was announced, because it was so instantaneous. 5 o'clock, so 5:30, switch off the main switch gear and just all of you shutters down, lock the main gate and head home. So probably next day there would be a very thin team of people, a very thin workforce, like maybe an electrician, maybe a factory manager coming, going around to see the well-being of the industry and getting back. So you don't know what conditions were prevailing in your workshops, what prevailing conditions in the machines and processes, what is the prevailing condition of your storage facilities. So when you open the operations after the lockdown is lifted, then again that's a challenge, because we think everything is fine, because the target is to run the operations, get the production on, and send the product to the customer finally, because we want to bill and create revenues. So this is another big challenge we have. Changes. Every day we are coming with new guidelines. WHO, the biggest irony is they said the plasma treatment today, plasma is gone. Then they're talking remdesivir. Now that is gone. Likewise, changes in work arrangements in industry. Every day there are new circulars. social distancing, masking became double masking. There's somebody said sanitizer is not safe. Somebody says give more hand washes. They say, change the factory layout. Now they are talking about more ventilation systems for dilution ventilation in the workplace. So many changes are coming up. And added to all this, we have this heavenly group of WhatsApp professors who speak about things that have to be changed with more conviction than trained and qualified experts. We will talk about it. So this adds another stress to us, and it's again big challenge because the kind of decisions that the decision maker in an industry has to take. And when I say decision maker, everybody is a decision maker, right from the security guard sitting at the entrance, because he has to make a decision at whom should I let in, whom should I not let in, what should be the kind of questions I ask, till the CEO as to what should I provide for in the organization. Every person working on a mission, every employee says, okay, fine, now how do I arrange my workplace? What other changes should I do? How do I, adjust myself to my colleague working on the next mission? There's so many aspects which come out of it. An unpredictable ambient environment. We saw what happened. There are untimely rains. Now again, Bangalore has already started raining heavily. We saw what Tauktae did in India. It's hundreds of people sunk in the sea. They still say about 26 people dead, 49 missing. So this unpredictable ambience due to the natural calamities again adding to our difficulties. Then we have to implement additional procedures. That means additional documentation. That means additional trainings. But what we are doing is in contrary to what is requirement. And imagine today we don't have time to read WhatsApp message, the fourth line of WhatsApp message, and people voice record and send. Now, do we have time to type out additional procedures, display them, make people read it? It's again a challenge. And most of the time people read first two lines. I know this, yeah, and they go. But the most important information would be in the fourth line and people won't read it. So how do you make such a workforce or such an industrial community understand of what is the essence of the message or what is the essence of the modified procedure that they require to fulfill? Time pressure. We've lost 4 weeks. Nobody would extend the deadline of the project handing over or completion or a certification stage. Now they say, I don't know what you do. You stay 12 hours, 16 hours, I don't care. I've given you the pleasure of not coming to work in the lockdown. Now let's work overtime and finish it. So when you have such pressures, you're emotionally worn out, you're mentally stressed, you're restless. Now you have time pressure, and then do we think we can do a good job? But we have to balance both the ends. So it is another big threat that is in front of us, and to keep things going safely. And what adds to it is so uncertain that the media is already telling the India be ready for a third wave. They are not telling second wave is coming down. Guys, do this. They're already threatening the population, saying that third wave in the offing in September or October. So the fear is now what lockdown would happen in September, October. We don't think of the next 3 months that we will work safely and work efficiently. So there's added pressure, and we start time crunching everything, saying that what would take 3 days of time, let's finish it in half a day. So this again is a challenge. Financial stabilities. Everybody wants money in time. Okay, then we have no SOPs offered by the regulatory bodies for us. You have to pay your GST in time, you have to pay your salaries in time, your ESI, PF remittance in time, everything. Then how? We would not be in a situation to pay professional fees for the services availed. Then what next? Then how? So these are all the kind of challenges, just not in India, world over industries are facing. And this becomes pertinently important to consciously recognize the factors and make plans to ensure that there is no failure of safety in any form. It can be an accident while driving a vehicle. It can be spilling coffee on your shirt when you're drinking hot coffee. It can be that you forget to close a machine guard and work, and there's an accident and there's an injury. All these things happen. So that way, what challenges we have in front of us is always working to defeat safety. But our focused effort is to beat these challenges and ensure that we are not going to fail or create a disturbance in what is in progress. Now, before we see what are those things which causes, let's look at some fundamental safety terminology, what we use in life across. And today, one such famous word is PPE. Everybody talks of PPE, and they are overnight PPE experts, while safety professors, industrial hygienists are sitting in the back seat and thinking, okay, is this how nose mask works? After even having designed nose masks, because they are overnight experts. So let's revisit this fundamental terminology and safety and try to relate it to our workplace and our operations. Hazard. We talk about hazard, but most of the time hazards is not seen in the sense. A hazard is a characteristic of an activity in progress which involves an interaction with energy. It's an essential part of energy. For example, electricity. Electricity is a hazard. It has a capability to give shock. But without electricity, I can't have this webinar. I can't show you my slides. Without electricity, you can't run your machine. But it has a potential to cause harm. Now, this is highly confused because when we talk about somebody, they say it's a fall hazard. Fall is actually a consequence. It's not a hazard. Working at height is a hazard because when you're working at height, you have a chance of falling down. And to prevent that falling down, you put restraints in terms of your scaffoldings, in terms of your railings, in terms of a full body harness. So hazard is something that is an inherent property of a substance. Okay. So it has an energy. It is an essential part of activity, but it can cause harm. For example, driving a car or driving a two-wheeler is a hazard. You need to go from an X place to a Y place and you are going on your two-wheeler, it's a hazard. But it can cause damage because there can be somebody who is coming and hitting you. It can be that there's an electrical short circuit in your vehicle, sparking, arcing, and there's a fire. There can be petrol, which is chemical energy, and some leakage can cause a fire from the engine head. It can be because there's an oil spillage on the road due to rain and mixture, slippery surface, and you can have an accident. So hazard is something that has a potential to cause harm. Then you have risk. Risk is the uncertainty of objectives. Now today, I'm supposed to start this event at 4 o'clock. Now, if my internet connection, okay, does not give me the desired connectivity at 4 o'clock, and if I start the event at 4:15, it is a risk because the certainty of completing the session at 5 p.m. gets defeated. And people may have to go because what has been announced is 4 to 5 p.m. And if it spreads beyond 5 p.m., I miss out talking to the participants, which can be a great interaction session. Our participants may miss out interacting with each other or with me, where there can be some new opening. So risk is uncertainty of objectives. It's an effect of deviation from normal processes. So the risk today we have is uninformed announcements of operations of factories being shut down, uninformed decisions of lockdown or extensions, uninformed situations of new waves of the pandemic coming up. It's there. While on the other side, they can be positive too. Tomorrow, government may announce that, okay, guys, you don't need to pay your home loans for the next 6 months. Okay, because of the pandemic, it can happen. There's a loan holiday for everyone. Okay, then they can freeze prices. They can do so many things. They can be positive. So risk can be both positive, also negative, also. But it is an uncertainty of objectives. It can result in opportunities or result in threat. And safety. Safety is the degree of controlling hazards, and it is limited to the extent of knowledge of hazard. Now, we knew COVID last year. The best example is we had lockdown. We brought down the number of cases of COVID. But today, there are mutants. There are mutational versions. Every second country is having a different strain of this coronavirus, which is giving to second wave. Okay. Now, the second wave demanded oxygen. We never knew that COVID would want oxygen, and oxygen became the lifesaver of this. Now, oxygen is received. Now, people are again coming out to a new condition called this black fungus. We don't know why it's happening. They're saying people who are taking oxygen are exposed to the risk and threat of black fungus. So you don't know. So safety is known to the extent of the knowledge on the hazard, and every hazard manifests in new form, bringing new risks and new threats. So we need to constantly control the characteristics of hazard by measures which ensures normalcy, and that is safety, and that is exactly what we are here to do. Danger is a situation that presents threat to the well-being. It can be acute, immediate effect. It can be after a while, it's a chronic effect. So danger can be foreseen, or danger is something that is experienced without the knowledge. Now, for example, if I am eating sweets every day, it's fine. It doesn't present a threat. But chronically, after 15 years, I may get diabetic. I may get type 2 diabetes. I may get type 1 diabetes. I don't know. It affects my well-being. So that's a danger. It's a situation. But in the case of industrial operations, in the case of factory operations, danger is more immediate rather than long-standing, though there are long-standing chronic issues which we'll talk about later. Then we have incidents, good, bad, ugly. My boss calls me today and says, "Great, Anand, you've done a good job. I'm going to give you a reward. Take this gift voucher of 5,000 rupees. Wow, that's an incident. Unplanned, unforeseen, great. Then my mind, man mein laddu phoota, that ad is there, no? That Cadbury's shots. So today, okay, I will go out today. I will carry something for my wife. I'll carry a new gadget for my daughter. So that's something is positive. But on the other hand, if my boss calls me, "Anand, what to do here? We have to reduce your workforce. Safety is an overhead in this factory. You know, we will consult you as a consultant. Yeah, why don't you sign off these papers? And today is your last working day." Unplanned, unforeseen, it's negative. But in most of the cases, safety is seen in the negative sense. An incident is an injury. We never see, very few incidents in the world have been positive, like Eureka, Archimedes found it. He propounded a principle, or Einstein did something, or Edison invented the bulb. But most of the time when we talk about incidents, we always relate to the accidents, deaths, damages, fatalities, destruction. So this is what an incident is. An accident and an incident need not lead in an injury, need not lead in a damaged consequence. And an incident that leads in a damaged consequence either to a person or to property is called an accident. Just miss agoitu guru. Thank God I applied brakes. That is something, that fortitude, you know, that protected me from getting exposed. Thank God I was wearing my mask, because that place when I went, I found 3 people standing next to me were COVID positive. That's a near miss. Had I not worn mask, gone. Probably I would have been in the ICU bed next to them. Who knows? So that is a near miss where there was a potential to cause a damage, an injury, an incident, a failure, but luckily did not happen. It got recognized in time, the nick of time, and that is called a near miss. And the near miss is the tipping point, because it is an indicator that there is some threat that is going to manifest in the form of a failure scene. So you understand this fundamental terminology, you can apply it to any aspect of activity in your life. Okay, and the solution is only, don't do that. When you recognize that something can go wrong, hold back from doing that. Think, then take the step. That's the reason there's a beautiful English saying which says, "A stitch in time saves 9." So that is something that will help. Now, when we know all these things about safety, let us see how accident causation happens. It's not easy for an accident to happen. Accident takes a lot of effort. And let us see what the sequence of events for an accident to happen, including what's happening in COVID. If you're affected, if you're infected with COVID, if you're exposed to COVID and you become COVID positive, that is also not any inherent. That's also not by chance. It is basically because of human actions and a sequence of events that leads to the final failure or the consequence. Let's see what they are. Let's see what they are. So when accidents happen, this was an outcome of a series of about 30,000 experiments done in the 1930s by a German scientist. Of course, many people have reported this, subsequently modified the numbers, but the figure I'm going to see is what one German scientist called Heinrich did this. And he says, for an accident to happen where resulting in one major injury, or for example, resulting in one COVID case, or resulting in one failure, or one breaking of a machinery part, there are going to be 29 minor injuries or indicators. They're saying, and you can very well relate to it. I'll give you an example of a single incident. And for these 29 minor injuries to occur, there are 300 red flags or no injuries shown to you. Now just imagine you are trimming your nails, okay, or you're shaving. Then if you have a cut during either of the activity, which I can take as a major injury, how many times you would have realized I am not focusing in what I am doing. There's some distraction. I'm talking on the phone. I'm talking to somebody. Some thought is going on my mind. Okay, I'm trying to multitask. And before that, how many times you would have been told in your house by your families, by your parents, your siblings, saying that, look what you're doing. Munde nodkondu hogo. Be careful. Be present to the situation. Be aware. In office meetings, do I have your attention? So all these things are nothing but they are flags to draw your attention towards an aspect that will help you in prevent failures, and you have ignored all these aspects. So that means to say, for an accident to cause, you would have had 329 opportunities to be informed, which I or you or anyone neglects, and finally land up in that injury due to using the nail cutter or while shaving, and a cut injury happen and there's a bleeding injury. It may be a nail injury during nail cutting can be a little minor, but imagine if the same thing happens that you're working on a lathe or you're working at height, you turn somewhere and you lose balance and fall off the scaffold, or your hand gets stuck between the chuck and your machine slides. The milling cutter is not mounted properly, it flies off. It can phenomenally permanently damage. It can even be fatal too. And now that's what happened in the cyclone Taukte, where the P305 barge, which was not supposed to go out, went out. They didn't listen to the safety officer, though there have been multiple announcements to be at bay. So 300 injuries. There were no injuries. There were continuous weather monitoring. There was a forecast of the cyclone. Then 29 minor injuries. All the people in the crew in that barge going and telling, let's not go offshore. Let's not go offshore. Let's anchor. And when this was ignored and went there, P305 sunk. So it's not out of the blues that for every single accident to happen, there are ample opportunities for the operations team to understand that there is something that is going to go wrong. The fact lies is that the person in the mirror, fails to recognize it or fails to accept the recognized threat in the offing. Okay, so this is why accident happens. This is what Heinrich propounded after studying 30,000 incidents. Again, this was modified by Bird, who brought the factor into 600 injuries to 20 and then to 10. So the figures kept on changing. But what I'm showing is the mother of all incidents, which was done in 1930s and which is true even today. Okay. Now, having seen this series of 329 red flags and 329 opportunities that can help me correct, accidents still happen. But for this one injury to happen, it is just not direct, there's a sequence. So accidents cannot happen easily, right? Now, there are 5 factors, like you see in the slides here, for an accident to happen. Now, hereditary and social environment. Now, hereditary basically because the human being, the Homo sapien, is evolved from the ape. And the characteristic, the mystic characteristic of the ape to be mischievous. So that has been imbibed till today by the human being or the Homo sapien in terms of taking shortcuts, okay, mischief, doing things easily, right? Now, once this hereditary is inherent, added to that, we have the social environment to impress someone, to meet targets earlier, to take off the pressure of the job. And these youngsters, everybody does it. All of us have done it in life. You're in your 20s, you get your first motorbike. You want to impress upon the girl going in the walking in the road. You want to ride the bike a little faster, and that you're causing an unsafe situation because it is the initiation of a process of failure. Now, you are working on a machine. The component has a cycle time of 4 minutes, and you are smart as an operator. You think about tool changing without even taking out the slide before the machine, and you do some shortcuts, and you create that pressure. So you are hereditary to be mischievous, Creative is again creating a social environment of pressure to complete things fast, because you do more components, you get better incentive. So that results in a person making a mistake. It's like a pack of cards. It fell on the other. So when this hereditary and social environment card fell, it falls, leading a person to make a mistake. And when the person without his knowledge or with his knowledge, mistake happens in a fraction of a second, he does an unsafe act or creates an unsafe condition. It can be that, I am an electrician, I am joining two wires, I join two wires, somebody is calling me, I forget to put the insulation tape, I wind it properly and insert it and seal it in between the two wires I'm joining. I'm creating an unsafe condition because somebody else at some point of time may touch it and get a shock. I may not, switch off the machine. I may think that, okay, fine, let the machine run in the lowest RPM, nothing will affect. I'll just step back 1 minute, pick up the tool and come back. I'm creating an unsafe condition. I'm carrying a carton carrying a carboy of oil. There are few drops of oil spillage. I'll say, okay, let me put it there, come back and then clean. By then somebody walking in the behind, it's already an unsafe condition. And because of which a person may slip. There can be a skid. There can be a fall. There can be a machine part fly off. Here, nothing has happened. There is an accident. And if this slip, trip, skid, fall, fly off leads to an injury, it's an injury accident. So an accident cannot happen independently by itself. It is recognized by a series of 4 previous sequential failures. And this sequence is absolute truth. If you recognize any failure that has happened to you and think backwards, it is basically this failure. It can be even as easy as simple as today I was COVID positive. That's an injury and where I did not have mediclaim insurance. Look back upon what happened. Why should I have insurance, Yaka? I don't need, I am young. Let me take insurance after 50. So social environment to save money, to have security led to you not taking insurance. By not taking to insurance, what happened? You are creating the fear in everybody's mind and your family's instability, and you're creating an unsafe condition of what next when things happen, and you're working in an environment that is alien to you. And then that leads to an accident where you attract COVID. And the injury is you don't have indemnity or insurance coverage to pay for your hospitalization, and you will probably land up selling your assets. So it is relatable to every aspect of activity we do in life, and it is more pertinent in our work operations because we spend more than 50% of the time, our lives, work lives, in our factory operations or business operations. So let's look at what causes of accidents are. Now we saw how accidents happen, but what causes? See, unsafe acts, these are acts done by human being. Okay. And then they contribute to 88% of the failures, what research says. Then there are unsafe conditions due to technology failures, machine failures, inherent design problems, deficiencies in environment we are working, deficiencies in equipment that have appeared over a period of time. So that's 10%. And 2% natural calamities, we don't know, we say it's an act of God, and that 2% can destroy the complete goodwill on the other side. So imagine what is the kind of risks we are living with. But before that, who is responsible for causing accidents? Please look at the mirror. It's always the person in the mirror. We go and tell, no, yeah, he came suddenly on the main road, but we don't realize I was trying to cross over when the light was changing from orange to red, and his light has changed from orange to green. He came and hit me, then I blame, but unsafe act is by me. Now, when you're looking at unsafe conditions, let me ask a fundamental question. How many of you, wear masks on your nose? We all wear masks. Most people wear masks on their mouth. You know that, if you don't wear mask on your nose, you are exposed. Not only exposing yourself, you're exposing to others. How many of you check your cars or two-wheelers before you start, before you switch on the ignition? You may be creating a deficiency to others, because if your vehicle going at a high speed suddenly loses balance, it can cause accident to somebody else. You may go and fall off, but somebody can go and hit another truck, and there can be a fatal injury. So how are you ensuring? How are you inspecting, auditing, reviewing your processes? How many sites have you gone and seen your factory layouts? How many times have you gone and seen your construction sites, saying that, okay, are the scaffoldings properly fixed? Is it properly reinforced? Are there proper railings to prevent people from falling? That becomes a big question. Are our scaffolds reinforced enough to prevent it from falling due to a slushy soil, earth, that can happen because of rain or a heavy wind? No. We just take things for granted that everything is in my control. Macha, I am an expert, yeah. We have this taken for granted attitude everywhere in the world. It's only that some places the behavior has been modified due to the fear of regulation, due to the fear of compliance, and some places it goes scot-free. So when we think of an accident, consciously let us go and stand in front of the mirror and ask the person in the mirror, guy, what did you do for things to go wrong? And the answer will lie within that person you see in the mirror. Okay, so it is us who are responsible for causing accidents. It's not somebody else. Okay, now accidents, these accidents of cause. Let's see some fundamental causes for accidents which is common throughout. Unsafe acts, shortcuts. We always follow Pythagoras theorem, you know, the square and the hypotenuse is sum of square on the other two sides. You say, instead of going straight, taking a left turn or right turn, going there, let's walk through the site. Yeah, of course there is no thick grass. There's only little shrubs going there. But finally, a scorpio or a snake comes and bites you there. You don't know, or something, you trip and fall. There's a pit. There's a sharp stone which injures you. So likewise here also shortcuts. You want to jump off the railings, guys. Cases like this, people have fallen from 3 feet, 4 feet, and have killed themselves because they had to walk 2 minutes extra to come out of the workplace or come out of the construction site. So please don't take shortcuts. The shortcut to success is always the easiest path to misery. Overconfidence. Everything is fine with me. I have not taken medical insurance at all. I am Iron Man. Nothing will go wrong with me. Overconfidence. And I will be the first person hit by COVID. And he thinks, everybody else will be affected but me. But you know why? I have read a lot of study material on this. So I know I'm taking all controls. And finally, I fall in the pit of failure. Overconfidence. It mostly happens that way. Then incomplete instructions. Okay. We always do this. Just pick the phone and say, hey, Ilonchur Banbadappa, please come here near me. I had this boss who always used to say, Ananta, come over. Now, where do I come over? What do I come over for? Why is he calling me? It used to be such a miserable thing, and afterwards I started studying his mood. I started calling people who would be around him always, saying that, okay, are you there? Are you there? Why is he calling me? What is the situation and all that? So likewise we do, and then finally identify what is the need and I go accordingly prepared. Likewise, we do it in our factories. Today I want full production, 100%. Let's finish in 6 hours. You don't tell the quantity. You don't tell the customer. We don't tell which machine. We are not even sure if all machines are up and running because there are breakdowns. So we just say, let's do it fast and be done with it. And in the whole reason, your instructions are incomplete. And there's a failure because we succumb to the pressure and do something faster. Poor housekeeping. This is the most famous thing that happens. We have one plug point. We have put 3 mobile chargers with a multi-pin plug point there. We added to that, we cut these plug of the 2 and insert wires and second, hey, adjust mada ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ, because we have a tendency of this jugad and ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ adjust ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. And what happens? One spark starts because of this, the carpet gets lit or some paper gets lit there. There's a fire. Within the next 10 seconds, nobody notices because these are all hidden corners of an office or a factory or of a home. And then things starts failing. And when the failure happens, it's already in a stage beyond correction or beyond control. Distractions, mobile phones, they have caused phenomenal accidents. One of the best example is there was a lady who was a runner running, and this in this construction site, she was crossing over. So somebody working at 20 feet height, distracted on a mobile phone, dropped the wooden plank of the scaffold. It went, fell on a cervical spine, and it was a fatal injury. She died on the spot for no fault of hers. She was running in early morning. This guy, distracted because of a mobile phone conversation, could not do his work properly, dropped the plank, and unfortunately this lady lost her life and the whole family is affected. So guys, this is absolutely essential not to be distracted. Now don't tell me I will not get distracted because I will use another pocket in my waist to seal my mobile phone, or I will put my mobile phone in my pant pocket. No, that is not going to prevent you from being distracted. In fact, you will pick your phone more number of times than normal to check, did I get a message? Is there an update? Is there a song? What's new in WhatsApp? Alright, it's so boring. Yeah, let me see the joke once again. And you are distracted much more. And when you're distracted, you're not present to the situation. You all know that. And you can only guess what happens as an outcome. Not following procedures. We clearly know that when we are getting out of the house, today we have to double mask. Okay. Then when you're getting into a store, use a sanitizer there. Stand at a distance of 6 feet space between each other. But do we do that? We know COVID has killed millions of people and has caused so much of harm to the world and to our local neighborhood. But do we still follow social distancing? No. Go and see 7 to 10 every morning in a superstore or any shop here in Bangalore. There are people jam-packed like as if there is no tomorrow, or they are not going to get a term to buy their grocery. Though all the stores are telling, we have an online service, you just order it, we will deliver it to your doorstep. So you don't follow procedures. Do you follow the procedure of, the machine startup sequence? So do you follow the sequence for the machine to be shut down? How many of you check your car tires or two-wheeler tire pressure before you start? You don't. While it is put on the petrol tank or in front of your dash in the car saying that please check the tire inflation levels, get a feel and do it. No, you don't do it. Check petrol level before you go. No, you don't. Check your wipers before monsoon. You don't, because you think extra 500 rupees, why I will do. But when the visibility gets poor and some vehicle comes and hits you, or you go and hit some vehicle, then you realize. But it's already late. So following procedures is another major threat. Then we have unsafe conditions of however you want to store things. So let me run through. I think we are already reaching 454. Let me run through. So you store material the way you want. They form dangerous explosive mixtures. Electrical safety, we spoke about it. Jabi, Jagamila, bare wire, plug, shortcuts, short circuits, fires because you don't have earthing, machines without guards. Then you have, machinery switches that where you talk about two-hand controls or operational controls. They are in such a position that, both are operated using shortcuts using one hand. And when you have shortcuts, we saw accidents happen. Tools, faulty tools, mushroom heads, hammers without edges, pliers without insulation. You go and check on a 11 kV line and you get a shock. Why 11 kV and 440, 220 can also give you a shock. 11 kV will kill you. But still we say, no, I will put my handkerchief and do ya. Or if there's a plastic sheet fallen off, I'll wrap into it and do it. Sorry. These are the things that leads to failure and these are the things that can cause damage to you and the environment. And for such chance, the losses are so high. And for every accident, it's like the iceberg of the Titanic where you see the direct losses as a tip of it, which is only about 10%. And the 90% miseries is unseen, which can be family affected, operations affected, skill set requiring to be reintroduced, retraining, financial losses, reputation losses, national losses. See, let's take the example of Bhopal. What happened in Bhopal? MIC, methyl isocyanate released. 25,000 people died. That was already about 38 years back, 39 years back. And even today, what happens? Industrialization is hit. Wherever you go in the world, talk of safety, they don't care about any accident. They say, India, Bhopal, you guys don't know how to do it. So the losses due to it, the earning capability of people, then the mutation that happened to people, like, even now families are being born, prematurely or with genetical problems. So the consequences of an accident is more that is not immediately seen, but an experience throughout a lifespan than what it is seen. So let's prevent that. So to prevent this seen and unseen, you need to take conscious decisions and implement actions, and that can happen by seeing this. You can't change a person from making mistakes, because we say to err is human. Social environment, the pressure is always there. Because of pressure, we make mistakes. But because of these mistakes, you put your step back. Remember, a stitch in time saves 9. And if you don't create this unsafe act or unsafe condition, then the whole accident is prevented, because there is nothing to fall on that. And there is no accident, there is no injury. So safety is ensured. The result is met of not disturbing or damaging or creating a failure for any person or environment, right? So it is easy, it is not difficult. Now, to do this prevention of, an unsafe act or unsafe condition, there is a sequence when you look at the triangle. So if the green triangle of the safety, what we talk about it, the first and foremost is you think of eliminating. You either eliminates or it reduces the exposure. Now, elimination, the best example in current scenario is quarantine people so that they don't come in contact with other healthy people. So eliminating the threat of exposure. It reduces our limits. You are eliminating exposure of positive people with healthy people, or healthy people with positive people, vice versa. And then if it doesn't work, you're going to tell them, you stay in a place, in a restricted area, and your activity we will substitute, do everything for you and provide you. Like, for example, using, if you're using a very toxic chemical, you replace with a less toxic chemical. The substitution of sanitizers, which caused a lot of health hazards, replaced with soap and water, because the intent is to break the fat layer of the virus and, make it dormant. So you substitute processes so that you are protected from the threat of chemical exposure or sanitizers, because people world over have started manufacturing sanitizers. We don't know how safe and healthy they are. We don't know how, what's the credentials or what's the credibility of the process or the raw material used. So you substitute. If nothing happens, what happens? You still used to use, we start using engineering controls, automatic dosing of sanitizers. We put guards, interlocks in machines. We start putting, automatic sensors. Now, companies have started putting cameras which sense the person's body temperature, non-contact devices to check the health of a person. Now, these are engineering controls. Now, after engineering controls, we put another hierarchy of procedures, administration controls, signages. We put boxes where people have to start 6 feet apart each other. Then we will say sign a declaration form. We give training, we give briefing. We warn people saying that this place has 20 people. So it's a possibility that you may get affected. So it is your duty to protect yourself, for which we have kept a mask on the table, wear it. And that's the last line of defense, the PPE. When nothing happens, protect yourself from the exposure of the threat of attracting a failure. So when nothing works, you protect yourself. And that's why PPE or personal protective equipment is used. The question is, do we do that? Yes, we wear PPE, we wear masks, but we wear it on our mouth. We don't wear it on our nose, saying that, sir, everything is healthy here, or I already have a breathing issue. Don't wear. So this is how things fail. So you don't do this, things don't fail. Adherence. So let us see how we can prevent these things. Hazard hunts. Go look at places in factories, in workplaces, in everywhere, and start telling people and educate. So you identify, once you know there's an opportunity that can cause a failure, insulate it. You conduct a risk assessment, saying that, okay, fine, I know my risk is, going to be the whole webinar extending beyond 5 p.m. So I have told some of the participants saying that be ready to have this session up to 15-20 minutes beyond 5 p.m. So I have assessed risk because I know when the session starts, I'm going to talk to all my friends here. Then before implementation, we review. Now we do a trial call. Me and Mr. Shekhar, we do a mock call saying that to check the connectivity. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Me and my colleague Mukti do a dry run. Are the slides appropriate? Is the subject going to cover all the aspects of it? So we will review. Then we train. Right now, what we are doing. The question is, training is absolutely implementation. Implementation and training is very essential. It is something like, you know, we take things for granted in safety. There's a very famous saying which says, everybody wants to be in heaven, nobody wants to die. Okay, every human being wants to be safe. But do you make the effort to train your people? Do you make the effort to train yourself? Do you make the effort to implement controls that you have seen in risk assessment hazards? No. Let me show you the reality in the next slide. We only say that, you know, I want to be safe. We say prevention is better than cure. But prevention comes with an effort. And we don't do it. We take things for granted. Because of the pressure. Why should I spend that extra rupee? You don't do it. So then we have to do periodical tests and examinations. Prevention. So before you travel, the one obvious question they ask is, do you have an RT-PCR negative report? It becomes very essential. If you're going to some industry, they do a rapid antigen test, RAT test, before they let into your workplace, and more so in food industry. Now, periodical tests and examinations also applicable to your machinery in the factory. Do you do your preventive maintenance? Do you do your audiometry test? Do you do your inspection of lifting tools and tackles so that they don't get damaged? Do you test them before you start using them after the lockdown because they will become sluggish without lubrication? No. Chalo yaar, chala do, kuch nahi hota hai. Do you do your periodical eyesight examination? I know, a little hazy. Finally, it will come out that I have some big, long condition which is with a Greek name, hypermetropia or something like that, you know, where I don't even understand and requires a special optometrist to recognize it for you. There are specialized people who would identify that and help correct it. Do we do that? We don't do that. Because it says, chal jayega yaar, lens cart mein mil jata hai, let me go there. No, it won't happen. Do you have work permit systems? No. We will say, okay, adjust. It's all known environment. Safety sampling can help. So you go to each machine, sample, is the guard working, is the interlock working, is your sanitizer station working, is the security person checking everything diligently, safety sampling. So this is something that can prevent audits. How is the system in place? What's the health of the system? Do I need to make changes? Do I need to implement? We have been asked to do double masking now. I go and do an audit on the shop floor saying that is everybody wearing 2 masks and is everybody changing the disposable mask every day? Yeah, makes a lot of difference. Then regular maintenance. Now the concept of 3 masks for 3 days. Every day once you come back from outside, wash the mask and dry it and take a fresh mask and wear it when your next outing. Regular maintenance. It's going to make you feel safer. Do you do that? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So this is something that will prevent, just not for COVID, but for anything. I have not adjusted the brake of my motorbike for the last 6 months, and in rain, can I expect it to stop when I apply brakes? No. I'll slide, go and fall somewhere. Lucky if there's a vehicle from other side, only I fall down. Otherwise, there's a message of me becoming a masala dosa at home. I'm crushed to death. So these are things. And after all this, is the management reviewing if all the measures that have been planned, provided, implemented, working the way they're supposed to work. This happens to everyone. The government guidelines, the factory philosophy, the operational culture, the customer requirements. Now, do we do that? No, we don't do that. Why? It will cost money because somebody will say, okay, fine, I have a requirement to implement safety as per all these applicable regulations. Factories Act, occupational health check, chemical safety. Then they'll say, why would I check all this here? I will not check because if I have to check, I have to hire someone. Instead of it, let me finish this. Manage the situation, run the show. Okay, it will save me. But no, but these are measures which are important and going to take you in a long way. The difference between good and best is only implementation of these things. And when you don't implement, let me show you the ground realities. These are live pictures taken in some audit locations of what we do. See, we have a welding machine, 440 volts, 11 kV. Look at the guard here, cardboard. The moment there is a welding spatter going, there's going to be a fire. Your whole, your operation cycle switch is completely taped. It could cost 100 rupees or 200 rupees to replace the switch. They have put all this brown tape, packing tape, and stuck it where if there's a spark in the switch, it itself will start igniting, melting, and starting a fire there. Now, can a person stand around this machine? No, a person can't stand anywhere. Where is the operator going to stand? Now, this is what it is. This is what we say: inspect, review, hazard hunt, implement procedures, and put signages. Panels. This is very favorite for all of us. You will find everything inside electrical panel, including food. Second shift, we give a snack at 6 o'clock. We go and keep inside the panel because nobody else can open it, my machine panel, except me. We found new pairs of safety shoes. This is the live audit of factories, small factories. And see what happens in your electrical substation. Clean karna chahiye, electrical substation. There is all 11 kV and 33 kV switch gear. Right in front of it, oil waste. Right in front of it, dumped, so that a person, electrician, cannot even run and go and switch off the breaker, cannot even go and switch off the main distribution switch. Fire extinguishers. Can you operate this fire extinguisher? This was an audit we have seen. Saying, ha, sir, fire extinguisher to hai. We have fire extinguishers, but fire extinguishers are like this. You can't even lift it. It doesn't have any details. Orphan. And we depend and put the risk of lives of tens of people and crores of rupees on such equipment. Now, do we do something about it? No. Why? It costs money. But why I don't want to spend money? Because I know I've told my people to run away when there is fire. But that's not the truth. And this is something that is seen world over. Can somebody tell me what this is? Can you unmute and tell me what it is?
Network
Cables.
Yeah, cables.
Power cables.
Jumbled up cables.
Yes, these are power cables in the main cable trench that comes from an incoming point to a distribution point in the machine. And this is the truth of every factory. So the trench is open, cables are laid like the way you want, non-traceable, non-identifiable, not properly routed. And added to this, the housekeeping people, they look here and there after cleaning the floor, push everything with the mop, it comes and falls on this. And one cable at the bottom row becomes hard and there's a spark. The whole thing burns. You're gone, your factory. This is live. So this is what is preventing safe operations. Earthing, earth pit. Can you see any earth pit earth strip here? This is a live earthing what we have seen. You say, sir, double earthing is there. But show me, they trace the earth from the machine to the pit and finally the pit looks like this. And they won't have done any earthing checking at all on this. Now, can you work on the machine or work in a factory or work at home if your earth pit is like that and earthing is not maintained? Because that is going to be the ultimate safety for you from electrical current exposure. No. See this? Short factories, small factories, this is how material is dumped. We'll say, okay, this fellow will be sandering or deburring there with the sander. He will finish it and turn and throw that piece. And when he throws that piece, if somebody is passing, it's gone case. Because all he has been told is, you pick it here, you put it down, you throw it here. And there's no place for him to escape in case of an emergency. Layouts. And we dump waste like this. Happy waste storages. And see the irony. There is an electrical cable. It's all grinding muck. There are different types of flammable wastes. Imagine if this is a situation on Diwali season. One rocket coming and falling in this. It's an inferno. It's a fire, uncontrolled fire. And this happens in all our factories. And we go and take awards for all this. Best safe factory in the state, best safe factory in the area, Suraksha, Atyuttam factory and all. And this will be our backyard stage. I'll tell you this is true for most organizations. It's true for most organizations. What have we done? And to do all this, you need to make an effort. First, by providing people what to do, where to do, how to do, when to do. Next is by going and physically seeing whatever I have provided, is it being followed? Does it require changes? Am I following the government regulations? Business owners need to know what is the requirement under law, because they sign for all applications. But when you sign for it, do you know what you're signing for? You would have signed including for the aspect that if I don't follow, you can either shut down my factory or you can imprison me. That's what law says. Are you aware of it? No. When something goes wrong, then we blame. Yo, hane bara, my luck, everything is gone. And finally, we come to an ideal situation. This is the factory where I said, sir, everything is fine, perfect, sir. Clean floor, chemicals are stored, everything. Look how the way oils are stored on a table. One small shake, somebody comes and trying to mop the floor. It topples all the 40-liter oil on the floor. Nothing to prevent it from falling. It will spill because the floor is guns and glut clean. And then people will start slipping and tripping. So organized arrangement of an unsafe condition. I can say this. So this is something, the consequence of failures. Something can be like this. Say a machine trying to put a guy trying to put his finger to clean a thread in the nut on a lathe. Neatly it is threaded to his finger. Somebody trying to work on a lathe with loose clothes. His clothes are dragged and his body is crushed. Grinding machines, grinders, we don't tighten them fully. We don't tighten the wheel. We don't put the wheel guard on the sander. The wheel cracks or over tighten it, comes and chips. Gone. We don't know if the jaw is broken or the face is broken completely. The person can even get killed. He doesn't wear PPE also. Like our COVID masks, wear it on mouth, not on nose. And see this case. Somebody is installing a tile, work at height, and that person dropped, a person walking below, not wearing a hard hat, thinking that nothing will happen to me, dead. So, and eyes, guys, please be careful. Eyes are the smallest organs in the body, but the most beautiful organ in the body. And any disease and any failure, either physical or psychological, of a human being shows up in eyes. Take utmost care of your eyes. Okay, your eye tests, color, vision. Imagine if you start seeing red as orange and green as yellow and you cross the traffic line. You don't wear your safety goggles and something like this gets, and it's not treated within minutes, you're going to go blind, permanently blind. See what happened? Just a spark went to his eyes, and along with that spark is a small bit gone. Now, when you address these consequences, these failures, simply by adhering to instructions that is provided for and what you are told to do, what happens? There's an inner and outer well-being. First, this is also from the yogic science, how this is so cumulatively made of the Eastern and Western cultures that it's beautiful. This is from the yoga science, which says Annamaya Kosha, the physical layer. And today, what are we telling? Physical distancing, physical guards in machinery and equipment, physical activity every day to be fit, wash your hands, physical hygiene. And then comes the energy layer. What we are talking about, energy layer, insulate your machines, have main switches for your machines, have emergency stop buttons. So they interact. So after the physical thing contains the energy layer is more because it is invisible and you only feel. So energy layer for us is what? Exercise every day, keep your spirits high, be with positive people. Keep your spirits high doesn't mean to say go and hit the bottle. Huh? Don't take it that way. Keep your spirits high, be with positive people, talk about good things, don't forward negative news in WhatsApp, stop watching all this information that is going to let you emotionally imbalance. Then we talk about the mental body. The first slide we saw, no, mental illness causes more damage than physical failures. So don't take unwanted pressures, manage them properly, do meditations, okay, get trained, address the situation, And that is what is going to keep you both inner and outer. And if all this, beyond all this, is intellectual, that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha in yoga, and the intellect, where you say you live a philosophy of safety and well-being always, just not for yourself, but the very presence of you creates an ambience of goodness around you. So you are at a high level of performance, and you create the ambience of high level of performance. And how this can happen in factories will be given, be highlighted by Mukti in the next 3-4 minutes. And over to you, Mukti.
Okay, so whenever we are talking about the well-being, there are tasks to be undertaken by management as well as workers. You all must have done most of these during last year's lockdown, but these needs to be done again. And since we are in a lockdown situation, first I will talk about the tasks for the management. So first of all, before the operations are started, they have to prepare the site by sanitizing and disinfecting. And after every shift also, disinfection and sanitization needs to be done. Then management should make layout adjustments also, like seating arrangement and all, so that social distancing can be maintained. And then use of air conditioners, as we all are hearing everywhere in taxis as well, and in office spaces, we should totally avoid use of air conditioners. And management should ensure that every worker who is coming to the office is having Arogya Setu app, and he or she must be online on that. Not that they have just downloaded it and they are not online, because then it will not be useful. Then they have to prepare hygiene facilities, like in wash basins, replace taps with foot operated sprays. And this we have seen in a few factories who have already implemented since last year. Then toilets with regular flushing should be ensured, and it is recommended that one shower unit for full body bath is also provided to the workers. Then additional safety requirements should be taken, especially in rest areas. Then management should identify required PPE and purchase it from reliable sources, not from anywhere where this PPE is not doing what it is required to do. Then sanitizers, as we all have been seeing, should be used prudently, since they have serious effects of overexposure. Then instead of written instructions, they should display visual instructions, as these are easy to understand and they're easy to follow also by all the workers. Then for every shift, for maintaining the social distancing, it is recommended that they have to minimize the manpower in each shift. This they can do by staggering the work timings. Say instead of 3 shifts of 8 hours, they can plan for 4 shifts of 6 hours each. This way productivity would not be hampered and social distancing would also be maintained. And many factories have been doing this since last year. But again, if factory has been closed and they are reopening this year, then they should take care of this. And they should refer only to the information through reliable or official sources, like WHO or state and central government agencies. Not like in WhatsApp, because so many circulars are there in WhatsApp, and many a times this information looks very genuine, but is actually fake. So this should be taken care. Then there are a few focus areas for workers as well, since they might be meeting after a long time, but they must follow social distancing and use PPE properly. Like Anant was telling, PPE is not worn over the nose as well as mouth. They should, like if they are using face mask, they should use it properly and maintain the social distance. And they must take care of their personal hygiene. All the workers should be screened, and it has to be done every day. And they must report if there is any abnormality. They feel that if they're having some cough or cold or feverish they are feeling, they should immediately report that. And then workers need to do non-contact operations, like for biometrics, door handles, or water coolers, and then toilets, as these are all fomites, and they should be taken care of. Then they have to avoid sharing personal objects like clothes. They exchange clothes sometimes, or other such belongings, or PPE, like we saw in TV news that one Netaji gave his mask to some other person. So that way it should not be done. Or like workers are using helmets, so they should not use somebody else's helmet. Even if they are in a hurry, they should see that they are using their own personal belongings.
Okay.
Then,
all right.
Yeah.
Yes, Mukti, please go.
Then mobile phones, like all workers would be using, should see that it is the prudent usage of all the mobile phones. And then if they're using tiffin boxes and the food and utensils, all should be kept clean. And after every meal, they should take care that everything, whatever they are keeping, it should be clean before they keep it. Then group discussions or smoking in groups should also be avoided. And actually smoking should be avoided totally, but then if somebody wants to smoke, they should not go in groups. And
yes, this is absolutely important, because the smokers and the tea drinkers, they can become friends. From somebody from North Pole and somebody from South Pole, they can become friends and hunt for tea in the middle of the night. It's a proof.
And then there is chewing tobacco and then spitting at pan or tobacco. That this should be totally prohibited in the office premises. And public urinating is also, it also needs to be totally prohibited. So these were a few focus area in brief and specific tasks which have to be taken care by management and workers. And now I would request Anand to please continue.
All right, thank you, Mukti. See, the most important is to prevent contact, and today there are phenomenal opportunities to have non-contact operations. Okay, now all your biometrics are replaced by QR code softwares. Guys, just talk to people, you will get it. We have in our own network community, where you instead of the visitor coming and writing on your register of date, time, and touching somebody's pen, a QR code based, so he gets on his mobile phone and take it. These are going to be pertinent solutions. Like I said, safety comes with a cost. That way, well-being also comes with a small price, and it's going to be an asset for you. There are things available here. Get in touch with us. Ready-made solutions. It is something that can be done by tomorrow morning. So this is what is going to keep you completely safe in everything you do. And when you are doing all these things using technology-based, like everybody says, you need to have mobile phone, Arogya Setu app, then why do you want to ask somebody to write in your register? Go take a QR code, click, you're done. Everything is registered. And sir, I don't have that facility. Ask me. Chatur Local is a very famous name in Bangalore, giving this across India. Just Google out, and the team next half an hour in call with you. And you can say 60 to 70% of your contact, operations become non-contact. Just not on people. It can be adapted to your processes. It can be adapted to your tools. It can be adapted to your material storage. It can be adapted for products. So when you do all this, these wellness influencers are huge. So if you just talk about the alphabets A to Z, we'll talk about ABC of wellness influencers. A, they are the antecedents that trigger behavior to do something in a particular way or not to do something. And when the behavior is triggered, it results in human performance. And we know human performance, the ape man, we only have our tail gone, but the nature of human performance remains. Control it. Tell yourself. Take a small safety pin and poke yourself, saying that be careful. And when that happens, there's a moderation and a consequence changes. If the consequence is good, recognize it. If the consequence is not favorable, retrain my behavior. And when I retrain, I make unconsciously conscious that, this is the way it has to be done for ensuring everybody's safety, because the price we are going to pay is very high. So if all these influencers are in place, it's going to be safe. So it is as simple. So with this, I end my session and leave the forum open for questions. I'm stopping the screen sharing and coming back to the main screen. let's have a good chat. Okay. You can all switch on your mics and cameras and we can have a good conversation now. So this is what I covered. I think I took about 15 to 20 minutes extra. My apologies for that, but that is something that, you know, as you start talking about safety, it goes on. So Mr. Shekhar, over to you and over to all the participants.
Thank you, sir. It actually shows your passion towards safety. The forum is open. Mr. Hulukund, you have raised your hand. Please go ahead, ask the question. Mr. Hulukund?
Sir, I think Hulukund will come afterwards.
Okay.
Is there?
You can go ahead, sir. Narayana Prasanna,
Yeah,
sir. Please go ahead.
sir, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Hulukund.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Sir, actually, it is a very good session. And actually, we are a small scale industry,
Okay.
having about 113 people.
Yes.
And our managing director, one Mr. B.M. Venkatesh,
Okay.
he is very focusing on these safety aspects and all those things.
Okay.
Like whatever Mukti madam has now told,
Okay.
most of the things we are following. Only
Okay.
one small question is for wearing of this safety helmet. That is why
Yes.
most of our employees, they come by two-wheelers.
Yes.
So we have insisted them to come with a helmet. So
Yes.
whether it is 200 meters or 500 meters,
Correct.
because we don't know at what time or when this incident, something it happens. So
Yes.
we are insisting on this aspect, that is to wear helmet always. But now we have
Okay.
given the training and we have just regularly, almost weekly once, whenever we see them, they are coming with the helmets, we are insisting them, but till they are
Okay.
not following it. So
Okay.
any good idea to make it happen, sir?
See, what people have to be made to live that unsafe moment through demonstrations. So there are various videos. You can't put, you can hit somebody's head with a hammer saying that this is what happens if you don't wear a helmet.
Yeah.
Okay. You can incentivize. I had this problem when I did an audit in Germany.
Okay. Okay.
Now, when I did an audit in Germany, what they said, the company was company provided helmets because people were not wearing helmets, including cyclists. Now, if you don't wear helmets, it doesn't matter. It affects my productivity. I'm not letting you get into my workplace. So the security guard is a stop point. 2 days you send him home. My production will get affected, but at least announce. You know, saying that if you don't wear helmet, you are going to, even if you're working, you are going to lose something. And people are hurt if they are hit where it hurts. You know, beautiful example in Yamaha, what they did was when we audited Yamaha, now the in charge of the line, the operator in charge of the line is responsible for all PPE. Okay. Now to motivate everyone, what they do, the best operator wearing all the PPE for the entire month, his picture is put on the board for the PPE guidance. And it will remain for one whole month from the 2nd of the month to the 30th of the month. Now, what they're doing, if this operator permits somebody to come inside the line without PPE, nothing happens. The board is replaced. Now, everybody will go and ask that removing the board is a punishment for the leader whose picture was there. Now, everybody will know if the board is removed in the middle of the month, there is something wrong. They will all ask him. So that group humiliation happens, you know, without doing anything.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So something like that. So,
yeah.
And this happens. This is a culture that has to be inculcated.
Yeah.
You just put that, you know, in your star performer, you put best safe riders or riders with helmets, and that day in the front, you take out his card and just put it inside. And somebody will ask, why is your photo missing? So they know he is not worn helmet.
Okay, sir.
And you don't send them outside anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sir,
yeah,
was,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
It was an excellent presentation on safety awareness, prevention of accidents, and safety practices, and on COVID safety protocols by you, Mr. Ananta Prasad and Mukti Srivatsava. We thank very much for this excellent presentation. Sir, what are the safety mandatory laws or rules must be followed in MSMEs? I think different laws are there, factory acts, labor laws, many are there.
Yes.
Whether it is exhaustive or it can be briefed shortly.
Well, thank you for this great question. In fact, I am surprised and I'm equally excited to answer this question because of any industry, any industrial operations, okay, where you're manufacturing, processing, packing, ornamenting, there's a definition in Factories Act, okay. Now, all these organizations are irrespective of the number of employees they have in the premises. Once they are declared a factory and hold a license, are bound to abide by at least 14 Indian laws, okay. The Factories Act, the electricity regulations, the wireman licensing regulations, the pressure vessel rules, the flammable substances, the Petroleum Act rules. You have all the Environmental Safe Act, Protection Acts, the Air Act, the Water Act, Hazardous Waste Management. Then you have the Batteries Act. It is something that every business owner, every factory owner, and every factory management should know about it, because without that you can't run a factory, and you all would have signed to implement everything in obedience to the law. So it's actually, we do these training sessions. They are about 2 to 3 day training sessions. There are requirements right from industries employing more than 10 people. Mr. Prasanna, you opened a big opportunity or big Pandora's box. It's a requirement of more than 400,
I think today it's quite exhaustive. I think more than 1.5 hours we are discussing now.
Yes, it is.
But still, we cannot address on the laws and procedures.
No, that is.
I think if it is so exhaustive, we can have one more session on safety laws and rules for
absolutely MSMEs. We can have. In fact, we have been conducting this 2-day training sessions across India in different corporates. We can also do a training session like this, a paid training session for LUB and purely for the management and the business owners. We can talk about all the requirements. We do have case studies, and it is absolutely essential, because what does law says finally? When it goes to the penalties chapter, the occupier may be imprisoned up to 7 years and fined up to 2 lakh rupees. Now, who has given permission to it? As a business owner, I have given it. When have I given it? When I have assigned my application for the factory application or the consent to the PCB. Now, what they can do without, if I don't follow this, they can straight away come and shut down my factory permanently tomorrow morning. They don't even need to give notice. And what they will do to cut down? The electricity people will cut down power supply. The PCB will cut off the sewerage line. That's all. Without this, factory cannot work. You cut down water. Water also you can bring potable water, but without power, without sewerage line, you can't do it. So implications are huge. So this is something that a compliance training is required, and this is also going to prepare you, because when somebody, for example, take a situation where an inspector comes and says, okay, this machine guarding is not there, Section 21 of Factories Act, you have violated, he'll give a notice and go. Now, at least after having awareness about this, you know what Section 21 is going to talk about. And at least you'll be prepared if the machine doesn't have guard, to put a signage saying that machine guard under repair, do not operate the machine, and stop the machine for operations for a few hours. So this is something that, all company owners, managing directors, all the senior management of companies should have an awareness on. It's a program by itself. We have conducted these programs from Sikkim till Kochi, everywhere in India. We can do it in Bangalore. Unfortunately, Bangalore has not given us an opportunity. We can do it. We would let this lockdown get over. We would like to do it as an in-person program, because we have a lot of workshops and exercises. We will see how the business owners, the managing directors of company can review safety. We have case studies. We have mock audits that will reinforce this process, and we can definitely take it forward.
Thank you, sir. We should have it because many of us are not practicing, even though we know that there will be some serious after effects.
Yes.
As well, our friend has spoken now. For example, in general, two-wheeler riders, they won't wear helmets.
Yes.
See, sometimes even for a ride of 200 meters, it may be a cause of fatality.
Fatality, yes.
So such awareness we should, I think we need to give it to our members, and the rules and laws of this awareness also need to be given for our members. We'll have this session, I think.
Absolutely.
If this lockdown extends within this 10 to 15 days, we'll do that.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll have a
session. See, very simple example I will tell you, everyone, because all industries do this. Okay, we know LPG cylinders. Now all these external contractors bring LPG cylinders to do gas cutting and welding. Now, do you know from Petroleum Ministry, there's a law from 2000 which says if you are going to use a domestic or a commercial LPG cylinder for gas cutting or welding, the person who has permitted to do it can be imprisoned up to 7 years and fined up to 2 lakhs. How they do it, they don't do it is a process, but he can give a showcase notice and go. And until that is there, they even have a decision to stop the operations of that work site, either the factory or construction site, anywhere. Now, do you want to get exposed to it? No. Now, does anybody know about it? No, because we only tell them, hey, LPG cylinder to woman bit fit it, I say, do that gas cutting in using LPG cylinder, I say. We are not getting oxygen now because everything is going to medical oxygen. So guys, awareness to these legal requirements is absolutely essential. And we will be more than pleased to conduct a training session on this. It's a long training session, but it is essential because when they come and ask questions, they can ask some 500, 600 questions to you. And at least when you know what the questions are, you can know how to answer. Otherwise, it is defeated. Okay. We can take it up.
Yeah.
Mr. Suresh Iyer has raised the hand. Go ahead, sir, please. Mr. Suresh Iyer. Okay, I'll take another question. This is from Girish Gumaste.
Hello.
Please go ahead, sir. Suresh Iyer.
Yeah. Mr. Ananta Prasad, it was a fantastic session. It is like the engine of like your bullet train, which is going very fast.
Okay.
My contention is about the factories which are already existing and closed down. And they comprise the electrical, mechanical, chemical, textiles, paper products, all these factories, whichever you call it, small to big.
Yes.
Since the lockdown, all your precautions are for a normal running factory.
Correct.
And the madam also spoke about what is going to happen after the opening.
Yes.
But I request you, because I'm dealing with a lot of these programs in LUB with a lot of speakers.
Okay.
I would request you to make a checklist of how companies should open their factories now.
Sure.
They cannot go inside without finding that the electricity line is live or not.
Correct.
They should find out whether there is any chemical which is stored and suddenly there could be an explosion. Some people would have left it in the drain, and in the drain the chemical would have become obnoxious, or it could be explosive. So we need to look at the rusting part. The scaffolding, the rusting part could, when they open the door, could fall down. So if there is a checklist that you can work out and share it with all the LUB members, this is what you should do as you go to the company to open the door.
Absolutely.
So if that checklist is given, so these people will be very aware as to, also if you look at a lot of the companies may be closed for more than a year with a lot of grass and snakes and rats and all the things there. A scorpion could bite. So we need to absolutely not only do the isolation or what you call quarantining of the place in terms of the virus, but also of all these animal creatures, chemicals and obnoxious substance. So I implore you to just make a checklist how to go about reopening the factories after this or during this pandemic itself.
Absolutely, we can do that. We will get in touch with Mr. Shekhar and Mr. Prasanna and take it forward and definitely facilitate you with a checklist, which becomes a form, just not of a checklist, but also a kind of a legal register.
It should be like the LUB giving a sort of a thing that you do check all these things. If it's okay, then go and start a factory. Don't just put it on and just start a factory. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a very good insights, Suresh sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Girish Gumaste has a question, sir. Even after safety training to employees, why is that an employer is made responsible for any accidents?
See, training does not indemnify the occupier or the owner of the company from accountability. You need to understand the difference between responsibility and accountability. Okay. Now, responsibility is something that can be delegated, transferred, owned by everyone, saying that whatever I am doing, the activity, I will do consciously and safely. But the person who is signing or receiving the license to run the factory or any other approval or permit, he signs that I will ensure this is provided. I will ensure that this is provided, which is accountability, and that cannot be delegated. Now, this is a great question. India did not have this till 1987. Till after the Bhopal disaster happened, the Factories Act was amended and Section 7A was brought in, where they said the occupier is accountable for everyone. Okay. Now, if training is given to the worker or the employee, and if it doesn't follow it, it is on the failure of the effectiveness of the training provided by the person. And who is that person? The person who runs the factory operations. It is either the occupier or the manager in terms of legal terms. Okay. And now he is accountable. It is something like, as the head of the family, I go and protect everyone in my family. So the owner of the business is the father of all the people in his work family. I can say he is like, the protector, and as a principal employer, it is still that he is answerable because he heads the whole organization. It is his accountability.
Can we have some more questions? Please go ahead. Dr. Sundarmurthy.
Yeah, good afternoon. It was a dear Sir Anant. It was a wonderful presentation.
Sure.
In fact, I was doing similar lecture when I was in Kirloskar Electric long back.
Okay.
On safety.
Okay.
And in fact, what you suggested, we give safety shoes. But as you know, hardly 10-20% people used to wear and use it. It is because it was little heavy also.
Yes.
But then some wrong incident happens, everybody starts using it. So we use that as an example, and at least I was able to, especially Foundry. I was in Foundry, Kirloskar.
Okay.
So at least 70-75% of the people started using. And in fact, I started award schemes. Whoever wears all the time, give him an award. And if somebody doesn't wear, his name will be displayed in the notice board.
Correct.
He has not take a small photo, put it on the notice board that he is without a shoe.
Yeah. See, in fact, we can do it a positive way, saying that, thank you for showing an unsafe condition.
Yeah. Okay, correct.
So if you do it positively, everybody will ask him, what is the unsafe condition you shared? Then he have to tell, I didn't wear the safety shoe.
Yeah. Okay.
So more positively shaming people, has more powerful. Otherwise, the person will feel like I am being targeted.
Yeah.
Or thank you for making our auditors more active.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation. Thank you.
Dr. Balasubramaniam, you do have any questions? Professor Balasubramaniam? Anybody in the audience?
See, what I would say is fine. We do these lectures. We did last year. We are doing it now. Probably we will do it once again down the line. I know, because the situations change, situation dynamic. We want to reinforce everything like that. But these are only like, we were just now told, they are bullet train speed, sessions, which will go for 45 minutes, 1 hour or 1.5 hours maximum. And probably 2 days down the line, we forget. This has to come in our blood. This is the difference between we Indians and the Europeans and the Japanese, because we speak about this and live this culture. And that can happen through a systematic, progressive learning, a bigger picture, and reinforcing it occasionally by reviews. So let's make this an enabler. It should not be that Ananta comes once in a year for 45 minutes, 1 hour. Okay, let me sit with my teacup. And anyway, my camera is off, my mic is off. I can do anything I want. I listen after and say thanks after 1 hour and go, no, guys, don't stop at that. Let's step into your factories, irrespective of how small or big they are. Small organizations in Germany running with 5 employees, 6 employees are doing turnover of 50 million euros, 40 million euros, the Vistra, everyone. So let's convert that. And the way things are happening in India is phenomenal on the technology front. Let's be enablers for this. And if a European comes here to give business, they know our law more than we know our law. They know our systems better. We have seen that. Okay. So let's work together and make this a reality. And who doesn't want an extra dollar? Who doesn't want an extra rupee? Everybody wants that extra 1 rupee in the turnover, right? Everybody wants that extra 10 paisa in their profit. Let's make it happen so that we work with happy people, we live with happy people, and we create happiness by ensuring safety. This is what I want to tell everyone. And I end it here. So please, we can connect once again. You can get in touch with Mr. Shekhar or Mr. Prasanna for more details about our organizations. We will be more than glad to offer services. If you want to just hear the experience of Mukti when she was loading bombs to these fighter aircrafts that were going on the Kargil war. She has been a part of it. Or ask the kind of safety that was taken care of when the Pokhran explosions, nuclear explosions happened, because she unloaded the bombs, the experiment bombs. So you will hear the story what safety is. Or when she manned the first all-women petrol bunk in India. Right? The kind of care that is taken, that is not different, and what we have to do in your factory is different. They're all same. We only have to translate it into actions. And let's do that and make it world class. Right? Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Shekhar. Thank you, Mr. Prasanna.
Thanks a lot, sir, for the very, very exhaustive session. We are really honored to have you today. We sincerely appreciate you for so readily accepting our invitation and addressing our member companies today. I'm sure all our members would have hugely benefited out of your comprehensive insights. My special thanks to Ms. Mukti Srivastava for her important focused and practical tips for MSME units. On behalf of Laghu Udyog Bharati, once again, we thank you a lot for both of these speakers.
Thank you,
participants, tomorrow we have a very important session on the topic effective communication, public relations, brand building for MSME sector. This session will be addressed by Mr. Kannan Krishnamurthy, who is a global communication strategist. Thanks a lot for all of you. I formally close.
Thanks, Mr. Shekhar.
Thank you, Janan. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a safe evening.
Thank you, sir.
Stay safe. Wear mask.
Very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.